Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for another Berserk volume. This is volume 3, and it's written by Kentaro Miura, created by him, drawn by him, everything. And of course, this is a manga. And I'm going to tell you one thing. I think I bought volume 2 and volume 3 as bootleg copies by accident. I got used copies off Amazon because they were only $1 cheaper, which is some bullshit, than the regular brand new copies that come from like Amazon and whoever. And my copies, especially Berserk Volume 3 here, has this very like faded cover art, and I couldn't tell if it was a new design choice or what, but it doesn't look right. Then I lined Volume 2 and 3 up with Volume 1 on my shelf, and Volume 2 and 3 stick out by like a good quarter inch, or like a quarter inch, something like that, compared to Volume 1. So I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, it's bothering me a lot, and I thought I should share that with you. So anyway, Berserk Volume 3. As a small preface, in the previous volume review, I talked about this guy called the Emperor, who is really called the Count. And I meant to call him the Count, I just kept calling him the Emperor. I don't know, Star Wars was on my brain. Still mourning over The Last Jedi like 10 years after it came out. Anyway, Berserk Volume 3 continues the fight between Guts and the Count at the end of the previous volume. And that was already intense, but Guts had basically been crippled or knocked out almost at the end of Volume 2. Volume 3 picks up with him still laying over this slab of stone column that he got thrown into by the Count, and he's still not winning. And something else happened in the midst of this fight. Teresia, the daughter of the Count, actually showed up and was kind of wandering into the fight, not knowing what her dad was, what his abilities were, despite them seemingly saying over and over again in the books, or at least the previous volume, that she was disgusted by him, and we never really knew why. Now, Teresia, the daughter, is the key to this volume. Let me tell you that. People have constantly told me that Volume 3 would be the darkest of the first 3 books, and it's really the beginning of how dark the series got. In my opinion, from the first panel of the first volume, it was already a dark series, and really stood out to me, overall, Berserk. I had never read these before, just in case you don't remember that or you haven't seen my reviews for the previous volumes. This was easily the most tense and the darkest volume of the last 2 and this one that I read, and it shocked the hell out of me, to be honest with you. If you've never read Berserk, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a very gory series, and I love that because I'm a horror fan. And gory fantasy seems to make fantasy better to me. I wish Oblivion, when I played that for the first time last year, had been really bloody. It was not. Oh well. Could have been a Fallout. It was not. This is a bloody series, obviously. And I'm going to tell you straight out, this was a hell of a read, dude. Teresia, like I said, is the key to this volume, though. There is a lot of backstory given to the Count. And who he is, what he is, why he is the monster he's able to be, where he can just get, like, his arm chopped off and regenerate, why he can kind of possess people, that kind of thing. And a lot of that involves the God Hand, which is something that Guts has made mention to, the kind of mark on his neck. Bleeds, of course, when he gets close to demons, but this one really gushes in this book when you get a little bit more appearance of the God Hand themselves. One of them looking like a weird version of Hawkman from DC Comics. But the God Hand are basically like the Cenobites of Hellraiser, which surprised the shit out of me, to be honest with you. I did not expect that at all. It feels kind of stolen from Hellraiser, because you got to remember, I think Hellraiser came out in, 83, 85? Somewhere in there. Berserk Volume 1 came out in, 89? It's clearly inspired by Hellraiser, which is fine. Being a horror fan, I like that even more for a fantasy series to have some kind of weird, unofficial tie to that. That's kind of cool. But yeah, they're like the Cenobites of this world, which is kind of wild. You have different styles of one. One looks like Butterball, the fat, chubby one that has a bald head and sunglasses. One of them kind of looks like that. One of them kind of looks like the Chatterer, or whatever his name is. But there's kind of that leader one. I forgot his name. It's like Griffith or something. And apparently Guts and Griffith have a past, and we find out a little bit about that. Not a ton, but just enough in Volume 3, which was kind of cool. Back to Teresia, though. There's a whole thing about when you call upon the God Hand, like the Count does in here when they show up, to get your wish granted or your deepest desire granted, you have to give a sacrifice. I'm going to tell you, that sacrifice portion of this book had me so stressed out in this 200-page manga volume here, dude. I was so nerve-wracked, nerve-wracking. I don't know what to call it. My car crashed is what I'm trying to tell you. I was a nervous wreck reading this, and I couldn't believe the direction it was going. I was actually telling my wife about what was happening and what I thought would happen. And it was dark as shit, man. Like I said, it is one of the darkest books, comics, whatever I've ever read in my life. Just this volume, not just Berserk alone, but this volume alone was one of the darkest comics I've ever read. And I was totally down for it. And to be honest with you, the resolution of this is kind of finished within the first 3 chapters of this 4-chapter collection. And I gotta tell you, we caught a moment of guts at the end of the second to last story, chapter, whatever, in this book that I didn't expect. And it kind of made Guts more interesting, I would say. I kind of like how Guts doesn't want to be around people, says he doesn't care about people, but you can't really tell as of yet whether it's because he doesn't want them to get hurt because of him and the curse on him or what. I'm loving this. Dude, to all the people on my other channel who had recommended Berserk to me, to all the people and friends of mine who have been around for ages, not on this channel, a lot of you guys are new, but to people who had recommended Berserk to me my entire life when I started getting into comics and even before that, dude, thank you, because this was such a shockingly great read. Everything I wanted from kind of my first fantasy comic, because I don't really love fantasy. From something like this, I'm just so impressed. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I do either. If I had to recommend Berserk Volume 3, you know it'd be a recommendation. This was a crazy read. We got the first chapter, though, at the end of the book, too, that kind of introduces the next story arc. I forgot what it's called. Let me look it up real quick in here, if I can find it. The Golden Age. There's a lot of backstory on Guts, by the way, in here. Not just with the God Hand stuff, but just his past in general, like as a child and how he was born. And dude, that was chilling to me, by the way. The origin of how Guts was born, I'm not going to tell it to you. Of course, I try to keep these volumes kind of spoiler-free when I review them. If you guys want me to get into spoilers, let me know that. I'll kind of talk about that a little bit more if you guys would like that. It's a little bit easier to do with manga and comics than it is in actual novels, so maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think it's easier to keep them, spoiler-free in case people haven't read each volume yet. But yeah, I was totally down for this. This was a phenomenal read. I recommend it highly. The writing, the characterization, all of the history of Guts. If you're like me and new to this and you're getting into him as a character, you're going to learn a lot, and it's pretty awesome. I wasn't expecting so much detailing about him so quickly, and yet it still doesn't feel like I know everything about this guy. And Puck's little humorous moments are pretty fun, like always. The funny faces he makes are pretty nice in here, too. And that's really all I have to say. Berserk Volume 3 is a blast, and I recommend it highly in case you haven't read it before. The series in general, if this happens to be the first review you've ever seen or ever heard of Berserk, let me tell you, great read, definitely a huge recommendation. Go check it out. And the art, just as always, is great, is phenomenal. Possibly better than Volume 1 and Volume 2 for me. It was incredible. I think a lot of the complaints I had with Volume 1 and Volume 2 that I think I brought up in those reviews was that sometimes you would have panels, since this is in black and white, that I couldn't really make out the best. I think in this entire volume, there was maybe one little panel, not a page, but a panel, that I had a little bit of trouble making out. Maybe it's a printed issue, maybe I'm right and this is a bootleg, maybe it has something to do with that, I don't know. But it was great. It was a great read and I loved it deeply. So check out Berserk Volume 3 if you haven't before. Thank you all for watching, listening, whatever. God bless you guys. Catch you later in a Volume 4 review whenever I get a copy of it. I've not picked one up. Maybe depending on if I buy anything at the local store I go to every week. If I don't see anything out there and I don't win this eBay bidding that I'm trying to do right now, maybe I'll pick up Volume 4 very soon. I don't know. I have a lot of other comics and manga I want to review. Some Deadpool stuff I would like to review before the movie comes out. I need to rewatch Deadpool 1 and 2 before the new movie comes out. So I got a lot on my plate that I want to cover, plus my backlog of movies with superhero stuff and whatever I'm trying to get into too, and make videos for, and topic videos, and so on and so on. I'm busy, as many of you know, but I want to thank all of you. The new 30 subs I got this last couple of weeks for coming here, for talking with me in the comments. You guys rule. I'm really thankful for you. God bless you guys. Catch you later, and goodbye.